Neuroflow is a veteran-founded healthcare technology and analytics company providing military and government organizations with real-time, individual, and population-level health insights in order to increase individual effectiveness, readiness, and overall wellness. As the leading military-grade behavioral health solution in the market, Neuroflow is actively working with the U.S. Air Force across multiple sites to enhance and scale the care delivered by administrators and medical personnel while empowering airmen to manage their own mental health and build resilience for peak performance. To learn more, visit www.neuroflow.com.
You're so kind. So one of the things that I've been doing is working with our legislators and our city council, our local politicians, and I'm actually in the talks of perhaps running for office. So I know that's a first. This is why I'm dressed in red, white, and blue today. I just got back from Republican women's luncheon. So I'm all gung-ho about what we have in store. And, I don't care which party any of you or us are affiliated with. I'm affiliated with the human race, and I'm affiliated with human dignity. And so one of the first things I would like to proffer to our politicians and our legislators who are listening, in fact, I'm going to reach out to one of the ladies that I had the pleasure of meeting with very briefly as she spoke this afternoon. Her name is, oh shoot, I don't have it. But anyways, I'll look her up and talk to her because she can actually make some policy changes. One would be the proffering, looking at continual spousal benefits for the family, even after the divorce happens. Why? Because I have no health care benefits today. Right now, I have none. And COBRA, that's ridiculous. It's, $1,000 a month. Are you kidding? Who can afford that? So, and Affordable Care Act, forget about that. You want to know why I know that? Because when I went to go look for Affordable Care Act, something that was comparable to what I had, which was amazing. Okay, I didn't have TRICARE anymore at this point, but I did have Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois. So I go and look it up and find something comparable, $1,500 a month. That's not a act. So I found other ways to do that. There are all kinds of discount plans available, ones that actually pay you back your premium if you don't use it. So we can do that on another podcast, but stuff like that, like I said, these things happened for me, not to me. Why? Because now I know that there are other opportunities for me to get healthcare in a not so, in an out of the box way. So as a holistic wellness consultant, I look at other things outside of what we as a society are used to looking at. For instance, we look at yoga. That's considered alternative healthcare, believe it or not. That's alternative healthcare practitioners. And that falls under that because it is not your typical go in the hospital and get treated. It's yoga. It's nice, soft ebb and flow. Some of it's pretty seriously tough to do. I mean, Bikram yoga is no joke.
Yoga hurts me, so.
It's not supposed to hurt, though. It's not supposed to hurt.
Good.
It's not supposed to hurt. And so, anyways, so stuff like that, but also alternative healthcare also means looking at other health plans like that, like these discount programs, because not everybody can afford healthcare insurance. Right. And not everybody wants healthcare insurance. That's another story. I'd love to go on another podcast with you and we can talk about all things related to that part of healthcare, because this is really important for those that are getting out of the military that will no longer have any kind of insurance until they get a job. Right. In the interim, you've got something else to fall back on, and you don't have to be afraid about not getting discounts left and right. So that's another story. But I would definitely want to help you all with that. So part of my recovery was meditation. It was huge. because that's what activated my spiritual awakening. So what activated it, because somebody asked me that the other day, I was like, oh, that's a good question. What actually activated that Kundalini experience, or whatever it is you want to call? Somebody told me, oh, you were kissed by God, because the experience I had felt like an out of body orgasm that was not of this earth. It was not even about the female genitalia. It had nothing to do with the sexual intimacy that I felt when I had this awakening experience. And I was raised Catholic, but I ended up becoming agnostic. And then I think I was atheist. Now I'm second guessing myself, because I don't know how one could switch from atheism back to one of belief and then back. And I don't know, but we're humans. Humans tend to be finicky, creative souls, people, things, it anyways. But so meditation, I had at that point about 8 years of psychology counseling. My doctor, my psychologist, has since become not only just a doctor, she's more than that. She's my mentor. We text each other. She believes in me. I actually had my first colon cancer because of her. She hooked me up with one of the Rotary clubs here in Jacksonville. And I was so fortunate that she believed in me to do that. And she's why I do what I do today too. She's part of it, She's a mother I never really had. And my mother is loving, and I'm working on that still. I love my mother and father. They did the best they can. But I'm doing this so that other people can realize that there is such a thing called abuse. And it does not, just because you love them does not mean that it's okay for them to continue to do what they're doing. The bigger us is to realize, again, that hurt people. And if we're going to be changing things for the better in our world, well, then we can't be angry at the people that angered us to begin with, because then we're just feeding into the cycle of insanity. And how do we better it? There's no sense at all. My sister was hit by a drunk driver at the age of 20, and she spent her 21st birthday in a coma. Do we dwell on that man that hit her and ruined her life? She's permanently brain damaged, and she's 51 years old today, and she lives with my parents. But her daughter is super intelligent. She actually got married for a minute and had a baby, and her baby is now in her 20s and is doing so well. She graduated as an IB student in high school and is doing very well. So, but these are a lot of traumas that I had to deal with. It wasn't just one or two, it was a lot. And by the way, since we're talking to women, my two children, one is 30 and one is 19. Well, 29 and 18. I'm going to just use the regular birthdays. But they are true blessings to me. I lost 4 along the way. I just listened to the lady that I'm wanting to speak to about our veteran benefits. She's definitely pro-choice, and I love the fact that she's pro-choice, but I am not. Not pro-choice, pro-life. I am pro-choice. I'm pro-choice because those other babies that I could have had, one was dying inside of me. It was either my life or the baby's life. And was it selfish of us to choose me? I don't know. Only God will know that. But I can't say that I am pro-life. I chose my life. My husband chose my life, or I did. Mine are the fetus, the babies. Do I love babies? Yes. Am I pro-life? Yes. I never intended on, losing babies that way. The other one, I had to do a DNC. Part of it was miscarried. I had, 3 partial miscarriages. One, I had to abort. I had to literally pass my baby through. Tell me that's not traumatizing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So yeah, all this stuff. So you see, I have a lot of traumas, and not to mention, I was beaten, pummeled when my first boyfriend was abusive. And later on in life, I realized he was an alcoholic. He was he was doing drugs and he was an alcoholic. I was not. I never did that growing up. I was not a pot smoking druggie. I wasn't. I was the nerd that sat and read all day because I loved it. And school was my escape from not having to go back where I did, where it wasn't very healthy.
Mhm.
So I found my solace was in school and teachers and all of that. So anyways, when I came to the realization, and by the way, one of the other traumatic stories is, and I'm going to tie this in and let this be the last traumatic story I bring up. It was, I was raped by an officer. My spouse was on deployment. I was living in Hawaii. I had no family there. You all know that have lived there. It's a small island.
Mhm.
The only people you have are the people that you're left with there, your new friends, your Anna, and
Mhm.
and the other wives and spouses that are in your squadron, right? And that's it, unless you're flying back and forth to the mainland. Well, I went out with a couple of my girlfriends, they were all officers' wives. And we all had babies. We were all like, yeah, let's go out. Let's have a good time. Let's forget about it. And we just went to the O Club, had a few drinks, talking men and women. It was a co-ed thing. Before I knew it, things led to another. We didn't want the party to end. I went and helped a gentleman go he's an officer. I trusted him.
Mhm.
We were just going to go grab, and the barracks, the barracks was literally steps from the O Club, okay, across the yard and be at the thing. So I didn't think anything of it. We're going to run in and walk back out because outside was where our whole group was. There's a handful of us there.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happened. The next thing I knew, I was blacked out and I could hear one of my girlfriends screaming my names through the hallway. Where are you? Where are you? And I remembered I was in this room and that was it. So went to it took a minute. I was scared. That was at night. We went back to my place. It was one of those sleepless nights, We're in Hawaii. It's gorgeous out. And we were all debating, what are we going to do? And then realized we need to take her to the hospital. By then I'd already showered. I was sick to my stomach about it, And I'm like, why did I do that afterwards? But I understand now why victims do that. It's
Mhm.
disgusting.
Yeah.
So that's the last one. And what happened? Well, he got a slap on the wrist. That gentleman, I ended up having to go to New Orleans to fight it. He was 05 in reserve, and he got a slap on the wrist, and that was it. And he got demoted. That was it. And here's the thing, I could not stand how I was treated by the women, the one woman, when I went to Nolans to go in front of their, whatever you guys call it, the tribunal,
Mhm.
with all these big officers, debating on whether or not to give this guy whatever it is his punishment is. It was a joke. The woman that interviewed me before I was put up on the court, she asked me why I was crying. Why are you crying? Duh, I was just freaking raped.
Yeah.
And, they tried him and they found that I wasn't raped. Okay, whatever,
Wow.
Experience, it's whatever experience. Yeah, was I drinking? Drunk? Yeah, I was tipsy. We were drinking. We were at a bar.
Right. But
But,
I love how that's like always the excuse. Like, oh, well, you're drunk.
yes.
You asked for it because you were drinking. Like, I'm
Yes.
sorry. I'm not allowed to have a good time. Like,
Thank you.
and still be respected and have my body be my body. Like, I'm so sorry. Everybody else can do whatever they want to, but me as a woman, I can't just have a good time. Like, I'm not supposed to drink at all.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. But it seems to be such an easy excuse for them to throw and be like, well,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the system. And you know, it's not the people, it's the system. And that's part of the solutions I want to talk about later on when we talk about the businesses that I have, because this is so important, you know. That gentleman that you know, the gentleman that he wasn't charged with rape, so I shouldn't say it's rape, but you know,
Well, you
I'm going to
you
call it
should
from my
say,
experience.
you should say, if that's
Mhm.
what happens, if that's what happens, then you should say it, whether he was
Yeah,
charged with it or not. Because if you don't say it, that's like not owning it, as far as like
right.
not, you know, like putting that responsibility on him.
The
If he,
accountability, yeah,
he just because he got away with it in the military doesn't mean that it changes the truth.
exactly. That's exactly it. You know, and it doesn't just happen to us women, it happens to men
Oh yeah.
too. That's so sad. That's even worse for me, I would think. You know, for me, I would think. I have, anyways, I have friends who are, you know, homosexual. So, you know, I get it. I hear their side of the story too. But anyways, you know, victims are victims, but I'm no longer that. I choose to no longer be that. And, you know, we all have that opportunity. And the woe is me does not work because of all the stuff that I've been through. And many people have been through worse. The only difference between me and them is I'm able to share my story because I'm fortunate enough to have a plot about A, because it's embarrassing, B, because our society makes a majority of us feel like it was on us. We don't ask to get raped.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what we dress like, how we speak, what we do, nobody deserves to be treated less than.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. And that includes children, you know, as I was molested as a young kid. How do I remember this? Because first day of kindergarten, and it wasn't a family member, you know, it was a landlord's spouse. And we were walking up the stairs to their house, you know, they lived in a second level home, but there were stairs. So it was the wife, the landlord, their child, probably close to my age, maybe 4, and then the spouse, the man. So his name was Jorge. So we lived in Spain at the time. But he, as I was walking up the stairs, you know, he put his hand up my dress and was like, you know, pushing me up that way and holding me. I'm 5. I didn't know that. I didn't know what that was, but I just knew that was not right.
Right.
So, you know, when his wife turned around to look, you know, he acted like I was fine. I was pretending that he was keeping me on the stairs. So that was my first experience with what sexual molestation is. And then to make matters worse, my mother did not believe me, you know, and so that I swore I would never tell my mother anything again, and I never really did. Even when, you know, even when I was abused by that 16-year-old, my first boyfriend, I ended up, my mother didn't believe me with that either until it was too late. When she actually saw the guy, my then boyfriend, knock on the front door and kick me in my ribs. And my mother was standing right there and she still didn't do anything about it. She just looked there in disbelief, and that was that. So what I did at 16, now think about this. Think about your child being 16, okay? I didn't know where to turn. So I went to the Assistant United States Attorney's Office and said, help me, please. I'm scared this man's gonna kill me. Because he told me, you know, if I can't have you, nobody else will. And he stabbed another guy I was trying to date. And yeah, he was serious. So file the injunction, all that. How does that tie in with the military? Well, my father was in the military. He was away at sea a lot. There was one parent there most of the time, and that was my mother. I was the oldest, and in our culture, the oldest does everything. You know, you're the second mother, the onus is on you. Whatever my children, oh my gosh, Freudian slip there. Whenever my siblings used to do anything wrong, I was the one that was beaten and punished, not them. Why? Because I was the one that was supposed to be setting a good example. So that's a lot on a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
I came home straight from school. I didn't go out and play a lot. I did from time to time, but I had to come straight home from school to take care of my siblings. We never went without food. We never went without clothing. I loved the food was how they showed their love. You know, the bad part is the mental abuse that happened without anybody even realizing it. And let's think about this, because we all, you know, in the military, we travel. The children alone are already traumatized when they go from one place to another, but that is part of our life, right?
Mhm.
And you either are resilient, you have resilient children, which is where our parenting comes in, to completely empower our children to do the best they can with or without us next to them, but them feeling safe, knowing that they can always come to us as their parents and say, we need help. You know, the hardest part to being an adult is asking for help. So anyways, and that was me, you know, I didn't know that I needed help because we're so used in the military, you do your shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do it and you don't ask questions, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, is that ego? Well, later on you do learn. No, not in the military life. That's called survival. You either do it or you die, period. And the civilian life, they don't get that until it's too late. And this is part of the stuff that I'm trying to teach our community. And we have many beautiful organizations doing that, not just me, but many other communities that are helping transition the military veterans. Why, again, why do I feel so passionate? Because it's been my life. I may not have put that uniform on, but I was there every step of the way from the day I was born. I was born into it. I had no say. And it's been my life and I love it. I don't know any other life besides it. But I do, because at 53, going on 54 now, I've been able to, you know, the corporate world was my life eventually, you know, and so to be able to see the military and the corporate and the way the communication is so different has really fueled my passion to make things a little bit better for not just the military veterans, but for our community at large. Because when people start understanding us, the military, we understand them, we come together and we find a way to speak and find ways to say yes instead of no. Mm-hmm. We find less strife. We find less alcoholics, less people with mental health issues. Mental health issues, a lot of it is, and chronic pains, those all come from, you know, the well-being of your brain. It does, you know, and the well-being of your teeth, you know. Why do I say that? Everything is interconnected. Everything, all the systems that are in our country, you know, but they all come down to healthcare, if you think about it.
Yeah. Healthcare.
So a lot of it is mental health now for me. So what I'd like to do is, one of the changes I'd like to see in our city, because I used to see my dad, well, my spouse, actually, my former spouse, would have to go to Gainesville to get some services taken care of. I'm like, wait a minute. We're in Jacksonville. This is one of the biggest cities in our country with, you know, one of the densest populations of military veterans, and you're having to go over there. Yeah, no, this is unsatisfactory. Not just you, but what about our older veterans that can't walk anymore? What, we're going to have, you know, a few of the people in Gainesville coming here, but have all of us going over there? Where's the economical sense in that, first and foremost? I mean, these are things that I'd like for everyone to start, you know, talking about. I actually talked to this gentleman, by the way, who is a candidate for the US Senate. His name is Luis Miguel. He is an advocate for our military veterans and military in particular. I had a conversation with him, a lunch meeting with him, and he's very, very passionate about making some changes for our military veterans. So I'm trying to align with him to see what else we can do to make it a little bit better for all of us. The other thing are for the spouses to get the continued benefits after marriage. The children already get that, what is it, up until they're 21 or 25 these days, right? But if they're college educated, I say those benefits need to go even further. What about the people that want to go off and become an MD or a PhD or, whatever it is, a 8, 12, 16-year college degree? They still need a little bit of these health benefits if they're going to school full time or more than half time. So these are things that we can hash out. But what I'm saying is you don't leave your dependent high and dry after they've served with you. Our veterans couldn't have done their jobs without the people that they were counting on to take care of their children, their household, their parents, or whatever it is your situation is in. Think about this. You may not be here tomorrow to face these problems, but your children will be.
Yeah.
And so will their children, and how dare we be so bold as to think that this world will be here for another 1,000 years. Our earth is already 1 billion years old. 1 billion, over 1 billion. This earth is not going to be here much longer. Right. We all have expiration dates, and so do planets. So let's make this earth as beautiful as we can. The utopia that you think about is a utopia we all think about. One without any strife and greed and anger. One where we can actually be honest with each other and not have to worry about whether or not that person is trying to manipulate us out of doing something we don't want to do. If we can be honest and say, hey, I'm scared. Hey, I don't know what to do. Help me. Ayúdame. Our world would be in a much better place. And I really believe that. But you know what? Yes, we see brokenness, but there's hope. How do we start that? By doing the next right thing here, by not being quiet anymore. Look where our country is now. And you know what? We're still having to take care of one another. Why should we be angry with one another? All we need is somebody to say, you're all right. You're doing the best you can. You're good. I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
I
think, as you're talking, something that pops into my head is like, what we're taught in the military is just to suck it up. And of course, it's almost like a really fine line, right? Because of course, we don't want to take away from being warriors. Like our number one job, no matter what everybody's job is in the military, is to fight, right? And so we want to be combat ready. But there's such a huge gap of what is happening. And I know some leadership is really good at this, and then a lot isn't. Like a lot that I saw is not. Not really guiding, like how we are as parents, where we teach our children, well, we're going to do this because of this, right? And we guide them along and we show them why, like not just you're going to be a good person, period. And then when they ask why, well, shut up. Your job is not to ask why, right? And we have that brokenness in the military, like, well, don't ask why. We're doing this. This is how it's done. This is how it's always been done. And so you have that where the service members are being taught that. And, most of them from 18, right? A lot from broken homes, bad childhoods. So this is kind of like they're being retaught or being taught how to be an adult, but they're being taught by saying, well, I'm your boss. And I did the same thing because that's what I was taught. Right.
Exactly.
So you said, well, you don't ask me why. And there's no guidance. It's do this, do this, do this, do this, and shut up. Right. And so then of course they're coming home and bringing that home, right, to their families, to their children, to their spouses. And so there's never that guidance, kind of what you're talking about. And it's like, then we wonder why we get out and we can't hold regular jobs.
Exactly.
Because
Or
you can't go and talk to people like that in the real world. You can't go,
exactly.
shut up, you just do it because I said. Like, that's not how you
Yeah. But you make a great point though. And that's what it is. It's all about being mindful in our communications. We laugh about that nursery rhyme, sticks and stones might break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that is such a lie. It is such a lie.
Yeah.
Words do hurt, words remain, and words are experience. Words are thoughts, and words are things.
What's
You
like
know?
that? I don't know if it's a parable or a story. I mean, I've read it probably on Facebook. But the boy who, I can't even remember what he did, but his dad made him go hammer in all these nails in the fence, in this wooden fence, right? Do you know the story?
No.
So he hammers in all of these, say it's 100 nails, right? Hammers all of these nails into this wooden fence. And then he goes and tells his dad he's done. And he's like, okay, now pull them out. So he's like, what? So then he go and get all the nails out, right? And so he's basically, he said, now, tell the fence that you're sorry for hurting the fence. So he has to apologize to the fence. And he's like, just because you apologize doesn't take the scars away.
That's right.
Right. So words, and that's why we say things like, don't say things in anger, like in your marriage and that sort of thing, because that sticks with you. And whether you truly mean it or not, if you say something, the other person is always going to just believe that you meant it.
That's right. That's right. And yeah. And when you come from a household or a work environment of nothing but, toxicity, because it doesn't, just because my experience was at home doesn't mean that this can't be related to at work or even at church, or wherever it is that you do your spiritual practices or wherever it might be. There's always this, it's when you feel it's when you feel like you're almost going crazy. It's like your reality is being twisted by something or someone. It's like, let's see, for instance, I don't know, Hitler, all right, the propaganda there. What did they do? They just kept on drilling in the people's heads, hate Jews, Jews are bad, this and that, this and that. You keep saying that. Those are like affirmations. We call in America, these could be positive affirmations. We use them to lift us up. Well, who's to say that that wasn't lifting them up without them even realizing it?
Aren't we doing the same thing right now with the virus?
Hello, that's exactly it. That's why I brought that up.
There's so much division and hate, regardless of how you feel. It baffles me that people, like, I have lost friends, and I really say anything one way or the other, but people are so passionate about the things that they have been fed, and they're angry but not researching things for themselves. It's dangerous. I have seen, like, this, to me, this whole thing that we have gone through this past year has been mind-blowing, and I'm like, that's exactly how Hitler did it.
Yep.
Exactly how he did it. They have
slowly,
quickly, but they
oh yeah,
figured out that division, right? That happened fast, and it's just grown over this past year, where people are like at each other's throats.
Yeah. And look what's happening in our country. It's happening all over again. And this is how that started. That easily. You get sucked into it without even realizing. For instance, Black Lives Matters, I fully supported it at one point because I thought that it was one thing until I realized what was going on. People are going to say, oh yeah, but that you're falling into the trap. No, but that's the thing. You have fallen into the trap. I know it because I've seen it and I've lived it. I've lived being manipulated for so long that I can see it in a heartbeat. I was trying to explain to a friend of mine, eventually, we look at people in the psychological world. We look at people when we respond or react to something. They say that we are actually projecting what's inside of us. Well, eventually what happens is you see things for what they already are, that mirror has dropped and it becomes a clear window of truth. Nobody's able to project anymore off you, because now you're showing them you know exactly who they are, because you see right through the BS. Anyways, that's manipulation, that's sociopathy. It's sick. It's a sick mind F game.
Yeah.
I used to find words to cover up the nastiness. When I had kids, I would say fudgesicles, instead of the F word, I'd be like, oh, fudgesicles. So that's what I'm gonna stick with, because it's still, delicious.
I love a good
fudgesicle. Right? Yeah, fudgesicles, man. The other thing. So I wanted to get back to the what was it? The VA stuff, the veterans stuff. So I met a woman, and in fact, it was where you and I met, at the health fair.
Yeah.
The military health fair. It was military, right? Not just military veterans, but military.
Yeah, well, it was like
or both.
Very holistic health or something like that. Which I was like, okay, this is my jam. Okay.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. So one of the female veterans I met there, I don't know how old she was, but anyway, she's probably in her 60s. I don't know, no, not 50s, maybe 60s. So she had shared her story with me. Actually, it was her daughter that had shared it with me and she was doing the Beamer thing. Did you do that Beamer thing, that Beamer table?
I got there too late. I was like, wait.
Oh.
And they're like, she's not doing it anymore. So
yeah, so the veteran was there. Her daughter was standing up against the door, and I spoke to her because she had talked about something else, which is gifts, psychic gifts, or whatever you want to call it. What do you call that? God's gifts? What do you call it?
I don't know.
What do people call it these days? I don't know. Anyway, psychic abilities. Yeah. So I went up to her because I have some of those, and we were talking about it. It was cool. She can actually hear different frequencies. So she also served in the military, and her specialty was in communications and audio. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. You got into the part of the military where you could use your real gifts. She could actually see and hear frequencies, which is what I can do. Like I can literally see and hear frequencies. So like where you see like gamma wavelengths and all of that. So I can see that. And I was talking to her and she's like, yeah, I can see that too. So we were talking about that. And I can actually see patterns when sounds come. It's beautiful. If you Google it on YouTube, sound patterns, you can actually see the beautiful patterns that sound and vibration makes, on reality. So anyways, that's that. And in the wellness field, I didn't realize it's pretty common to talk about gifts, which was a whole new thing for me. I'd never been able to realize that the things I had were actually gifts. I thought everybody else could see what I saw. How did we segue into this? Oh, her. So yeah, that was we'll have to talk about that too at another podcast on gifts like that. But so she was telling me her mother, the woman that was on the Beamer table, had lost 2 toes. She had called the VA and asked to schedule an appointment to check one of her toes. She ended up losing it because they made her wait 2 months till she got an appointment. What happened? She got freaking gangrene and lost her toes. That's disgusting.
It's terrible.
Yeah, so now what's the government do? Meanwhile, this woman has no more toes there. That's sick.
Yeah.
And what do they do? Who are they accountable to? Nobody. Mm-hmm. And did you know on the project that I did where I was videotaping, getting stories from veterans and their experiences with the VA and the healthcare system at large. Did you know that, what was I gonna say now? That the less money that our VA system puts out in programs for the veterans, the more money they have to pocket. They get incentives to not spend money on the programs that are supposed to be put in for special veteran programs. How do I know that? Because I talked to another veteran that had firsthand dibs on this. His name is, Steve McMichael. He served, he was the right-hand man to General Schwarzkopf. I told you about him. And one of the first few Gulf War syndrome patients in our country. Did you know he was still fighting that up to today? 20 years later, whatever, they're just now, the government, the VA, the healthcare system are just now confirming that the symptoms that these guys and women, they're women, suffered from the Gulf War syndrome is real. Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, this is unacceptable. Yeah. You guys, we should not have to wait. That's the other thing. Y'all, we do not have to wait, should not have to wait. You signed your lives in the very beginning. You should get the benefits. That's the other thing I told the U.S. Senate candidate. It's good enough for the congressmen and women to get lifetime healthcare benefits, but you're going to poo-poo on our veterans? Yeah. Did you serve on the war? Yeah, no. Then you don't get what they don't get. Mm-hmm. No, veterans first. You give your life away, you better damn well make sure that you're going to get the compensation that was promised to you. That's the least our country can do. And I'll be damned to sit around and watch people get poo-pooed over after they decided to serve, to give their life. I mean, we're talking about life.
Yeah. And then chronic health issues. Right? That the VA or the military government, they don't want to even recognize.
Yeah, because they don't want to pay out. And I'll be damned if they do that continuously while I live right in the city. I love our city too much. And, we're the gateway to all things Navy. If somebody comes here to visit Jacksonville, Florida, and they hear, ooh, they've got a great, Navy program, this and that. Well, we ain't no Hawaii. We don't have anything as big and great as Hawaii does to actually show our appreciation for our military veterans, their spouses, and their children. Because it's not just about the veterans that served. You bore children or whatever. Mm-hmm. You adopted children. You adopted a significant other. These are people that without them, there is no you. Yeah. Again, without you, there's no us. And so does our country, should they be able to, they can afford to take care of the rest of our veterans, including their spouses and their children. Mm. I don't care in this lifetime whether or not I continue to get them. It's not even about me. That's the difference between me and somebody else that's trying to fight for these rights. I'm doing it not just for me, but for the next few generations that come, so that the parents don't get traumatized watching their child sign up to save the world. Mm-hmm. And worrying about the children as to whether or not they'll be covered if they lose a leg. Yeah. Here's what I'd like to proffer the congressmen and women before they decide to, say no to 100% healthcare benefits free for all servicemen, women, and children. You serve one day. You sign your life on the dotted line. You do it. Let me see you live this lifestyle for a year. Bring your spouse and your children. You do this with the same kind of benefits that you provide our people. And I'm going to do that to the city council people. You want to represent your district? Then you live there for 3 days. Live there for a day. And then tell me, what would you change and how will you change it to better our city? Because we're only as good as our worst link in the city. So anyways, and part of that is we need to take care of our veterans. There's over 88,000 That can populate an entire city of its own.
Yeah.
And so what are we doing to support, we as entrepreneurs, we as business people, what are we doing to uplift our military personnel? I'm going to say personnel being all the entire family. You know, your children are military, Leah, right? You know, they don't have the uniform on, but they are. You are still, you always will be. Once you serve, you will always be a veteran. You know, I have friends that served 2, 3, 4, 4 years. They're like, I don't know, am I a veteran? Yes. If you served in the military and you were honorably discharged, yeah, veteran. Even when you're dishonorably discharged, but you're not looked at as, you're not given that, you know, there's something there that's totally different. When you're dishonorably discharged, that's different. Then you have to come upon a committee to decide, because every case is different. That's the thing about AI, you know, AI and a human board. You can get all the data you want and give it to the artificial intelligence. They're not going to be able to discern who's right and who's wrong, only based on data, you know. Look at my situation, what happened to me. I went to jail because I hit my spouse. Does that look bad? Yeah, did I, and all, for all intents and purposes, break the law? I did. But was it right for me to have served? Was it? Was justice really served at that point? No. A, you just spent your taxpayers' monies on someone who was abused. B, you did a disservice to the person who was not taken care of, and that was the abuser. That abuser needs to be rehabilitated, not me. Well, I need that. I need therapy. And it's not just me, then my child, because my child saw that. So you see, we try to separate the person that needs to be taken care of when in fact we can't. It really does matter when we say it takes a village to raise a child. The addict, the alcoholic, the mentally ill, they're no different than the child that we're raising. What happens when your child is hungry, when our children are hungry? We just give them food. What happens when they're tired? We put them to bed. It's the very same thing we need to provide for our veterans, for the homeless, for the people that are incarcerated, for the people that are domestically abused. We provide what they need first and foremost, because when they're not comforted with all their needs, their human needs being met first and foremost, nothing else will happen. Nothing. So anyways, the other thing I would proffer for the military, transition points. Again, you know, that debrief after each serious cycle of training. So when you guys go off on, you know, short deployments, or what's short anymore? Do y'all do short deployments anymore? What is it, a year now?
I don't know. Yeah, it's always been at least a year to a year and a half for the Army. So
yeah, that's freaking crazy. I mean, you know, when you're used to it, you're used to it, but wow, you get out of it and it's like,
it sucks.
wow.
And then
Kudos.
I know families, well, I mean, in fact, I have a neighbor, actually, her husband is Navy. We don't live in a military neighborhood, but I just across the street happens to be a Navy family. And we've lived here for a year, and he had to do like train up after train up after train up after train up after train up. So he was gone, and then he finally went on a deployment. But I mean, he's like barely been here the whole time we've been here.
Wow. Wow.
You know, and I mean, they have 5 kids. So
yeah.
every time he comes home for a train up, and every time he leaves for train up and then deployment, I mean, it's so traumatic on those children.
Yeah.
And she has to pull it all together. And then for her too, you know, I mean, she doesn't live in a military town, so it's like
even worse.
she's by herself, you know. So
yeah.
I mean, we
and
all
so
help all the time, but I mean, it's not, you know, like there's no support system for her. Like, I don't know if anybody's really reaching out to her from his unit or anything like that.
yeah. And see, that's the issue too. You know, every unit, every squadron, whatever you want to call it, you know, we all have our ways of doing it. Each one of us in different branches of the service, whatever. But when I was in the military, when my spouse was serving in the military, we had what's called an ombudsman, that took care of all of that. She typically was, it was a position that was put up by the Officers' Wives Club. Did you guys have any of that? You guys had like a wives club or a spouses club, right?
Yeah, it's called FRG in the Army's Family Readiness Group.
Right. Yeah. Okay. FRG. Yeah.
I
So,
was kicked out of one of those.
you were kicked out? What, what did you do? What happened?
I honestly don't know. So I was still in, and I had just had a baby, and my husband was deployed, and so I would go and listen and see. The thing is you wanted to be my friend because I did all of the travel arrangement for them to come home for R&R, and
Yeah.
I did all the travel arrangements and set everything up for them to come home from their deployment.
Yeah, so everyone that knew you were in the know.
Right. But the wives didn't know that. So they didn't know what was going on ever. But I would go to the meetings and then I would just offer things up. I mean, I can't really think of, but just kind of like random, like, hey, maybe we could do this for the unit or this for the families. And the commander's wife started screaming at me in the meetings and was like, why do you always come here and attack me? And I'm like, I was just coming from like a soldier's perspective.
Sounds like an ego problem to me.
But I mean, my husband had called because we had a change of command while he was deployed, and he had called and cussed out our commander actually because of the way that they were treating me. Because they would keep me like I was put in the admin room, so we were all counterintelligence, so we didn't have like an admin like job for our unit. Like everybody just kind of had to rotate around. So they put me in the admin room, and my baby was in childcare. I would have to go pick her up at 1800, bring her back, and I was the only one at work because the commander, he's like, well, I need you to fix this slide, and he would send me one, and then he'd say, well, I need you to fix this slide and send me that. Like, can you just send me all the slides at once?
Exactly.
But it was just like stupid stuff. And then he started threatening to get me kicked out of the Army because I didn't have a family care plan. And I'm like, it's 8 p.m. It's 2000. And I'm the only one here. I'm like, this would be an easy fix. Like, put somebody else in the admin room. My husband is deployed. And so, I'd asked to be taken out, and they wouldn't take me out and put somebody else in that position because anybody could have done it,
Right.
And he was just constantly threaten me and to kick me out and all this stuff. And I was like, I had a nervous breakdown actually because I was like being sexually harassed by my, platoon sergeant, my first line supervisor. I mean, it was just really intense. And I had a nervous breakdown, and there was nobody there. Like, I wasn't part of FRG, and the soldiers didn't like me, so it was like I was completely alone. And I told my husband about it one time when he talked to me. So he called the commander, and he was an E5, so he's like this little peon to the unit. And he's like, hey, sir, this is Sergeant Day. And he's like, oh, hey, Sergeant Day, like, how's your deployment? And he like went off on him, like cussed him out. It's like, why are you treating my wife this way? Blah, 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 blah. But it just made things worse for me. And I was like, why did you do that?
Yeah. Because he loves you.
Right. But it got worse. And then from there, the commander's wife was like, she would scream at me, and I mean,
ego. That's just ego.
It was crazy. And I was like, okay, like, I just thought maybe we could have some cookies, or something. It was like,
that's the thing. Some of those women, I'm not saying all of them, because I had some wonderful experiences with the CEO's wife or XO's wife or whatever. But some of them, man, Their egos. They wore their husband's rank on their sleeve.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
You try to do something good and then, they get upset. Well, their response says it all.
It was,
I get it.
yeah.
I was treated like that too. It was like I was trying to coordinate like an event or something for all of us women. I think it was like a brunch or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she took over. I'm like, wait, what just happened? I thought I was doing this. Oh, I'll take over from here. Like, what the heck? Well, I'm going to do the invitations because I do calligraphy. It's just my natural handwriting, but people used to pay me for it.
That. Yes, it's beautiful.
And so she's like, oh no. Her husband was like, oh, you better check with her to make sure that you can do. I'm thinking to myself, why do I need to check with her? This is a women wives club thing. Right. I started it up. That's what I realized, it's a love-hate relationship, that hierarchy, you need it to survive in war, but you damn sure don't need that when you're off combat zone. What's keeping you alive in the combat zone is what's killing you in real life. That's why so many of us are divorced and re-divorced all over again. Yeah. Well, take a look at the way our people are being handled, treated. Yeah, do they put us up in housing, this and that? Yeah, but that's not enough. Sorry, it's not.
I was never very impressed with the housing that they put me up in. I'm like, thanks for the walls and the roof.
Just take your BAH and run.
Right.
Just go look for something else and suck it up.
Well, Grace, I want to talk about your business a little bit. My son has football soon, so.
Oh, good. Okay.
My mommy duties pretty soon.
Okay.
I don't want to leave unless you want to leave that for another episode, but and come back to do some more recording. But I want to talk about your business so that we can promote you and how people can connect with you. I know that you shared livingwithgrace.net, and you have said that you're already on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter now. Yeah. Are you on TikTok yet? Grace, are you on TikTok?
No, my kids are like,
that's the place you need to be. You need to be on TikTok. That's where you need to go. You would love it. You would love it. You would love it. Yes.
I don't know. There's something else. Have you heard of Telegram?
Yeah, I'm on Telegram, but that's more like a messaging thing. Yeah.
Oh,
I talk to my team members and stuff.
I don't know any of this stuff. I'm getting.
You need to be on TikTok. Listen, I've connected with some women. There is a Sharp representative I've connected with, and she's going through some training right now, but she said she's going to be on the show. Met her on TikTok.
Hey, that's cool. That is cool. I do a lot of I meet a lot of people through LinkedIn and Facebook, believe it or not.
All right.
But so speaking of Facebook, so I just started up Monday morning meditations from 7 a.m. to 7:15 Eastern Standard Time. It's a Zoom link, and I can actually give you that Zoom. I'll give it to you after this, but I can give that to you. And so I'm on it for 15 minutes. As it progresses, I'm open to changing up the format. But for now, it's just trying to get people accustomed and introduced to what meditation is all about.
So if anybody wants to do that, we can share the Zoom link with them. They can just comment. They can just comment on the video, and we can share that with them. Yeah,
actually, here, let me see if I can give it to you now and see.
While you're looking, check this out. Check this out.
Okay.
Oh, wait, I have my volume down. Oh, wait a minute. You go ahead. I don't know what's happening.
Okay. Why? What happened?
Technology's not my friend.
Oh, today it's not, is it?
No.
All right. So here's the meeting ID number.
It's not.
So it's Zoom, and the ID number is 878 put it in the chat.
Mhm.
Actually, hold on, I just lost it now. Shucks, where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay, let me just copy it here. Oops. So it's 878-1514-909. I'm sorry, 9039. 878-1514-9039. And the passcode is mindful, all lower caps.
That's Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern.
7 a.m.
Oh,
Eastern.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
Eastern. Ooh, you
Yeah.
up early, girl. You up early. All right.
I'll probably do something later on to catch the people like right before. Hello.
This is a TikTok.
Oh.
Experience. And vicarious trauma is the stress and trauma that the helper may experience. What's the difference?
So she
between
goes
traumatic
through.
stress
I
and
like that.
paintings of Sam, Instagram challenge.
She goes through. She's on TikTok. That's not all
that's-
about dancing and all that stuff anymore.
So that's TikTok. Yeah.
Yep.
So mindful meditation helps in more ways than one. You can use it for, anxiety, for stress, to actually help heal PTSD and other traumas. Most anything and everything you can utilize meditation for. The most important thing is to be able to bring you right back to the now, so you don't have to worry about the next breath that you take, because really all we have is now.
Mhm.
So meditation is actually training for the brain. The brain is a muscle, it's not unlike all the other muscles out there. So if you don't use it, you do lose it. It's like a car,
Yeah.
If you don't drive that car around from time to time and get it lubricated, because that's what cars like, is the lubrication. If
Mhm.
you let it sit there, everything dries out and rots. But if you use it from time to time, it's just like human beings. You're in the health and wellness field.
Mhm.
You don't move your body, you don't get the lubrication, and guess what happens? Your body starts slowing down, it starts getting brittle, it starts hurting. Chronic pain starts with that, the not moving.
Mhm.
So meditation helps you get there mindfully. So I really believe in that. And, again, it catapulted me into my spiritual awakening. Some of you might be deep into your spirituality or on this spiritual path. Meditation is one of those modalities that can get you there. It worked for me and it healed me tremendously. I went from 24 medications to I'm down to 2.
Amazing.
Healthy eating, meditation. I did Tai Chi, which is another form of meditation. We could do a whole nother segment on that. I'd love to be able to do that with you. And yesterday was National Health Day, by the way. That would have been a great thing. But anyways, so that's one of my businesses. Living with Grace is an umbrella company that I have. I have many different, a variety of talents. So mindful meditation is one. I facilitate that. Again, I do consultations, the training, the coaching on mindfulness, recovery, and wellness. So say if I have somebody that wants me to actually, be there at the doctor's appointment, and I'm basically like your friend that can help you ask questions that you may not have even thought about.
Mm.
And I can help if you have like a modality that you're working on now. You can say, hey, I'd like to do better. Can you help me with this? I can take a look at it, you out. And again, work with what you have. So maybe you want to get off meds. I can help you with that with the help of your doctor. I don't do anything unless your doctor approves it. I'm here as an addendum for you,
Mhm.
for the client. So think of me as 911. Hey, instead of calling your doctor and being charged an arm and a leg, you call me and say, hey, I got this. What can I do? I'll give you that. That's what the coaching is. And my ultimate goal as a coach and as an advocate is to make sure that you don't ever have to come back to me again.
Mm.
You may not need me, because that's my goal, is to make sure you don't need me, because I'll provide the tools that you need. Hopefully for the rest of your life, you'll know what to do. But you come to me because you want to, because you want to up your game more, because I have more tips that I can maybe provide to you, or we can work together. It's not me knowing more. It kind of is, but it isn't. But it's about us working together.
Mhm.
Because even doctors, I would run from any doctor that does not believe that it is not a team effort. It is,
Yeah.
you know,
But
it
also
is.
it's a different perspective. It's kind of like when you are telling your kids something and then they hear it from somebody else and they're like, hey, guess what I learned today? And you're like, I told you that 15 times. So you can
Exactly.
be that different perspective. And then also I love that, you have been through, I mean, I don't love that you've been through
No.
traumas,
Yeah.
but I love that you're using your traumas. I mean, in these incredible traumas that are just, it's like one after another your entire life, but
Mhm.
you are not broken. And I'm sure that you would agree, like I feel like we are always a work in progress, like we're never quite
Always.
there. um
That's right.
but you're steps ahead of the people that you're helping. Sometimes a lot of steps ahead, maybe sometimes you're a few steps ahead, but you can be there as a guiding light and you've been through it. So I think that's really important when helping people. It's hard to hire somebody or work with somebody when they haven't been through anything, because you're like, well,
That's
what in the
right.
world do you know? Like you don't know what I'm going
That's
through.
right.
So, you have been through the gamut of things and can help a plethora of people from all kinds of different backgrounds or whatever their experiences and traumas are. So I love that you can offer that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And that's another one of my businesses actually is Recovery Peer Specialists, RPS agency. So it's a peer-to-peer, it's a peer placement agency. It's the first of its kind in the world. I know that because I made it up. I am the creator of this whole thing. And certified recovery peer specialist is a thing in our country, in our state. It's brand new. It's only been in our country, in our state system for about 5 years. So again, I'm the first one holding this, and what it is using people with lived experience in substance use, opioid addiction, mental health, and also 500 hours of evidence-based training. Now that's getting the certification through the state. It's called CRPS. It's what I am. I am provisional, meaning I've taken the test and I've passed. I've already completed all of the training. The only thing is I haven't completed all of the necessary hours that are required to get my certification. And at this point, because it's so new, I may not get that because it's so difficult trying to get a business started and trying to get those hours in. You have to get 500 hours in within the year that you get certification. And that's a lot of hours. That's just as much as what a PhD gets in getting some of his or her training. So if you look at it like that, these people actually are first responders. They are the transition point between the time that somebody is getting clinical services, say from a guidance counselor or a counselor, into real life. So, we are not clinical, we are not clinically motivated to help out, but we are in that life of transition where we're getting them out of the clinical part and helping them move back into real life so that they can actually become productive citizens of our community. So where do we use CRPSs? We use them in the courthouse, when they're in trouble. We use them, and we can use them in the emergency care units, the emergency units for the hospitals where a lot of drunk drivers go. And, what I could do is assign a peer to that person because the doctor's too busy. The doctor's going to be like, hey, I've already treated this person, but we got to get this person out. What can we do? Well, we can make sure that that person is in alignment with what the doctor has treated them for and use somebody that's already had that experience to say, hey, I've been through this. Let me help you out. And what happens is they have less of a chance to relapse with whatever drug or alcohol it is of their choice between the time they get out of the hospital and the time they get into their first, say, support group meeting. Whether it be a 12-step program or not is irrelevant, but their next journey, their next step in their journey to recovery, So I love recovery. Recovery means a lot to many people, but according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Association, the SAMHSA, their definition of recovery is this: it's a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness. Isn't that nice?
Yes, I love that.
Love that too, because we can use that with women that are going through, domestic violence today. And that's the thing. My other business, it's a nonprofit. I would like that to, it's brand new. So we're still working on the bylaws. I mean, it's really green right now, but I'm really excited about it. Part of it is to help the military veterans the way that I was talking about. I'm doing the advocacy now. I'm trying to work with the politicians, the legislators to try to make these things work. The other thing that I want to do with the nonprofit is to use that as a springboard, as a leadership program, taking the veterans that have had these experiences and saying, hey, I'm here to help. I would like to be a recovery peer specialist. I would like to help that next person going through these illnesses or these issues because I've been through it. It's mentorship to the nth degree, because not only will we have the mentors there, but we will have the resources available there. I want this to be a hub of all things recovery, and also all things where our veterans can come and say, oh, I need this service, not for me, but for my wife or my husband or my child or my niece or my nephew or whatever, my dependents, because it's all things related to recovery. And it's all things related to our community. We have so many beautiful nonprofit organizations, but nobody knows about them because there's no real directory. So I would like my organization to be that hub. And eventually I would like our hub, our city, this organization, and all of the organizations related to military veterans. I want our city to be the hub and the model of our country, because our city is amazing. We are the third biggest city in our country to have this many veterans. So now I'm starting to sound like a record because I'm so excited about this. But so that's the nonprofit, and then the RPS agency is my third business. So yeah, it's crazy. I've got 3 businesses, but with your help, we'll get the nonprofit going. The other part of that is I'd like to see it be utilized as an art and music studio for our local kids and up and coming artists. I'm an artist myself. So what I'd like to do is proffer selling my artwork and putting about 40%, which is almost twice that of most people who would offer to provide for their nonprofit. That's how much I care about our city. I'm willing to give up 40% of my earnings to my nonprofit so that I can help the next person that's dealing with these issues.
I love that. And it sounds like something, that so veterans can go through it, their families can go through it, and then they can turn around and become a mentor if that's what they so choose to do, which I feel like ends up being a passion. Like when you go through something, I mean, it's very similar to when you get into psychology or, you get into certain, like I'm into health and wellness now because I went through my journey after transitioning out. And it's like you start learning that and doing things for yourself to heal yourself first, and then you pay it forward. So I love that, Grace. So
man, I love what you do too. We're all doing that. We're put on earth to help one another. It's all about relationships. It's helping the next person that needs the help.
Well, thank you. Oh,
thank you.
Look at this. I have so many notes that they
Yay.
Oh my goodness.
Yay.
Grace, thank you so much. I don't want to cut us off, but
yeah, thank you so much.
I have to get my kiddo to football. We gotta feed them.
Yeah, you gotta be.
They like to eat. It's weird, the kids. But I so appreciate your time, and I'm excited because I know this is the very beginning of our friendship, and we're going to be working together more closely with lots of different things and chatting more. So I just want to thank you for your time today. Would there be any other parting words that you would want to say to our audience before?
Well, I would like to say, always, thank you so much for your service, whether you're, a service member or a family member or someone supporting that family. We tend to forget about the caretakers too, so thank you for that, whether it be your mother, your father, or somebody that you pay, your neighbor, whatever, we have to rely on one another. You want to know why? There's nobody else there that's going to take care of us but us. And one more thing, since this is a women's podcast, I want to say you do matter, because guess what? When you decide to have a baby and you decide to see that baby come to fruition, you have just created a new leader. It is upon us to make sure that we're doing the very best we can to show what love really is about. And by the way, kindness does not mean weakness. Kindness does not mean weakness. I espouse nonviolence, but I also want to say and remind our leaders, nonviolence does not mean not defending. On the contrary, we're even more mindful and conscientious when we are doing nonviolent communications, because it makes us think outside of the box. It's like telling our friends and family, stop using curse words. I love curse words, by the way, but stop using curse words, because there's more words that can actually effectuate better change in people than those words that we choose to use. That's it. And one more thing, just anyone that is involved with all things nonviolence, all things domestic violence, all things military veteran that is interested in maybe being a part of my nonprofit, please reach out to me. I need all the help that I can get. This is a community-oriented organization. What does that mean? It means you being there. How can you show your support? By paying membership to be a part of it, because that's what's going to drive the funding for our nonprofit. We don't have to keep doing fundraisers, but those are fun. The way to do it is to put your money where your mouth is, and that is to help us get funding so that we can provide services for free to the people that need it the most, the ones that can't afford it, right?
Right. Thank you so much, Grace. I love it.
Thank you so much, Leah.
I hope a ton of people reach out to you from this, and I'm excited to be working with you more and more. So again, thank you for your stories. Absolutely incredible. If you all did not catch the entire episode or episodes that turn from this with Grace and I, make sure you listen, because she is a force to be reckoned with. And it really just goes to show that we cannot judge a book by its cover, because we would look at Grace and we would see this perfectly put together, beautiful woman and have no idea the crazy traumatic experiences that she has lived through and come out the other side as a better person and helping others. But more than likely, she knows what you've been through, so, and can empathize with that. So Grace, thank you so much. You are a beautiful person inside out.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. And I look forward to the next time when we are chatting. So.
Yeah, me too. Enjoy the rest of your evening with your children.
Thank you.
And your spouse.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening, guys. And make sure you're checking out neuroflow.com as well for your mental health needs. I will be putting the links for Grace's business on here, so check those out as well. All right. You'll have a great night.